Hey, what's going on everybody? I'm AD the Barber, and in this tutorial today I'll be showing you guys how to give your client a mid-bald fade. The tools I'll be using are the Oster 76s along with my wall seniors. Now to start this cut off, as usual, I'm going to go through them and I comb and brush my client's hair. Now I'm going to take my Oster 76s with my 5-0 guard on, and I'm going to ball the guideline out just about halfway up from the top of my client's ear and the top of the head. Now this is the only part of the video where I'm going to use the Oster 76s. I just like to use them because they're a lot faster and I can bald out bald fades in a shorter amount of time. And this 5-0 guard really does a good job getting the hair down to the skin. Also, an important tip when you're working with Oster 76s are to remember to keep these clippers flush to the head, because if you do start to angle them, you can pull hairs and you can cut clients. I like to start on the left side of the head and move just about halfway around, and then I'll go over to the right side and I'll do the exact same technique, balding out the guideline, and I'll meet those 2 points up in the back. When doing bald fades, it's always key to make sure you get all the hair. You never want to leave any little hairs around the ears or in any other creases your clients may have. So when you're finished with the guideline, it should look something like this. Now I'm going to take my 1.5 wall guard and I'm going to cut my client's hair down against the grain. Always take your time and just make sure you get a nice even cut. Also, I don't want to leave out, with this 1.5 guard, I currently have my clippers all the way open. Now I'm going to take my guard off, I'm going to open my clippers all the way up, and I'm going to create a second guideline. I'm going to go about 3/4 of an inch up. And again, when creating this guideline, I'm following the same steps I did with the first guideline, starting on one side of the head, going around to the middle, and then starting on the other side and bringing it around and connecting it. Now after you finish that guideline, you should be able to recognize 3 different levels of hair. Now that I have my 3 different levels, I'm going to start by blending out the top one. I'm going to take my half guard, clippers all the way closed, and I'm going to start to blend out the bottom of that top guideline. Pay special attention to the technique that I'm using when I'm blending, and remember that if you're working with walls, to keep the clippers flush to the head. And now I'm going to move halfway up on my lever, not trying to create a new guideline, but to just blend out the one that I currently have. And as you can see, the higher I get in the fade, the more I open up my clippers. Now as I'm getting closer to the top of the head, where I have the 1.5, I recognize that I need to stop and I need to put on a larger guard. I don't want to go too high with that half guard, so it's important to pay attention where you are in the haircut and know when it's time to switch to a larger guard. Now with this one guard on my clippers, I have my clippers all the way open, and I'm using small strokes in the corners of my clippers to blend out that top line. Using the corners of your clippers is a good way to keep your fade from going higher than you want it to get. Now I'm going to take my 1.5 guard again, and I'm just going to do a little cleanup work, making that blend a little bit smoother. I'm going to start with it all the way open as I did when I cut the hair down against the grain, and I'm slowly just going to work the lever closed, cleaning up anything I can to smooth that fade out as best as possible. Notice how I'm still using the corners of my clippers. I feel like I can't stress that enough, just because once you learn how to just use the corners of your clippers, you'll see how much it helps with your fading. Now we're gonna move to the back of the head. Now the back of the head can really become a tricky part, especially for new barbers. It's not as easy as the side of the heads because now you're working with a round area compared to the sides of the head that are flat. And I'll say it again, just remember to take advantage of using the corners of your clippers, and also take your time. If you're new to fading and you're at the back of the head doing a bald fade, it can be really complicated. Just take your time and be patient and try to get that blend out as best as you possibly can. And you can see how I have to change the angle of my clippers. When you start to get up more towards the crown of the head, the hair starts to change directions in the way it grows. And so remember, when you're fading, you have to fade against the grain of the hair. And depending on your client, that means you may have to turn your clippers at all different angles. So don't feel like you're doing something that you're not supposed to be doing just because you're not fading straight up and down. And I mean, you can run into this problem on the sides of the heads, really anywhere on the hair. It just depends on the direction in which the client's hair grows. And now as I get over to the left side, I'm still following the same technique as I just taught you guys on the right side. Just taking my time, starting with my half guard all the way closed, and starting to blend out that top line. Again, pay attention to the technique I use with the clippers, how I'm keeping the clippers flush to the head. The higher I get up, the more I open my clippers. And remember just to know when it's time to switch to your next guard. Now I'm going to put my number 1 guard on again, all the way open, and I'm going to start to blend out the rest of that top line. And now I'm going to move back to that 1.5 guard, just finishing out the blend on that top guideline. Now here's a quick view of what the fade looks like now with just the top guideline blended out. Now I'm going to work on blending out that bottom one. Now blending out this line is very important. This is the line that once you blend out is really going to make your fade pop. So I'm going to take my wall seniors, clippers all the way closed, no guard, and I'm going to start to just tap out that bottom guideline. You can see in my technique, I'm making small strokes, I'm using the corners of the clippers, and I'm barely just tapping on that guideline. Now after I did all the blending I can with the clippers all the way closed, I'm going to go halfway and I'm going to use the same exact technique, still just tapping that guideline. And now just to do a little cleanup work, I'm going to open my clippers all the way up. I'm keeping my clippers flush to the head as I always do when I'm working with my wall seniors, and I'm just blending out any little imperfection that I may see. Remember to use your mirrors. Your mirror is going to show you every imperfection that your eye misses. And now as I get over to the other side, I'm doing the same exact technique I just did on the left side. Clippers all the way closed, and I'm just tapping out that guideline. Clippers flush to the head, using short strokes and not dragging my clippers across the line, but hitting the line, moving my clippers back, and hitting the line again. Now that may confuse you when I talk about dragging the clippers, and that's something I'll have to show in another video. So the better you get the line out, the cleaner the fade is. Now you can see as my fade is really starting to come together as I'm blending out that line. Some lines take longer to blend out than others. You just really have to be patient and use the proper technique, and that line will come out. And again, as you can see, I have my clippers all the way open, and I'm just going through doing a little cleanup work. Now again, we're at the back. Like I said previously, the back is sometimes really complicated to get that line out of there, but we just have to be patient, use the corners of our clippers, keep our clippers flush to our head like I've repeated 20 times in this video. I know you're probably getting sick of hearing it, but that line will come out. I said it once before in the video and I'll say it again. Use your mirror. Our mirrors are one of our most important tools that we have as barbers. That's stuff that our eyes don't catch, and spots that we think are more blended out than what they really are. Sometimes they're not, and our mirror will catch that. Another great tool is use a camera. Cameras catch everything just like a mirror. Take a picture, and your camera and your mirror don't lie to you. So after we got our fade nicely blended, we can move on to the lineup, which is really going to make our fade pop. And for the lineup, as usual, I'm using my Andes T outliners, and I'm going to start in the middle of the head, and I'm going to work my way out to the left corner. Pay special attention to the technique I use in my clippers. Again, I'm using just small movements, but I'm using more of the middle of my blade. And then when I get to the corners, I like to use more of the corners of my blades. And when I get over to the other side of my lining, I like to follow the same technique. And also, when you're doing lineups, make sure you use your mirror. Just like how our mirror shows us that, you know, there's still imperfections in our fade, it shows us that our lines are not straight as well. And so when we use that mirror, we can figure out what we need to do to get the most straight hairline possible. But that's it for this bald fade tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you follow me on Snapchat at ADZ03, and make sure that you subscribe to my channel as well. Once again, thanks for watching. This has been AD. I'm out.